In the depths of the galaxy, where countless civilizations coexist, one truth emerged: humans are not like the others. They are a species of survival, shaped by a history of chaos and conflict. And when they are pushed to the brink, something ancient awakens a thirst for justice. Not as others know it, but as only humans can deliver. Once you anger them, they show no mercy, only a relentless pursuit of vengeance, one that leaves entire civilizations broken and whispers of fear spreading through the stars. This is the story of what happens when humans decide there is a special place in hell for those who cross them. The galactic community prided itself on unity. A collection of thousands of species thrived in carefully maintained peace and achievement born of treaties, shared knowledge, and unyielding vigilance against war. The humans, however, had always been an anomaly. They were new, unpredictable, and fiercely independent. Their origins were shrouded in mystery, their arrival sudden and without ceremony. They were a species that had only recently emerged from their cradle, Earth, a world marked by its ferocity and tumultuous history. Yet, it was that very history that made them unique in a galaxy that prided itself on order. The incident near the Outer Rim was the first indicator of how different humanity truly was. A mining convoy operated by humans had ventured into Zedran space, extracting resources from a region they deemed neutral. The Zedran, a race known for their strict adherence to territorial boundaries, responded swiftly and harshly. Demands for restitution were ignored. The humans, unrelenting, refused to yield. This defiance wasn't born out of ignorance, but from a place deeper and far more calculated than the Zedran had anticipated. They fought not out of desperation, but out of conviction. What followed was more than just conflict, it was a revelation. Human ships, though technologically inferior in appearance, fought with a relentless ferocity that confounded their enemies. The Zedran expected swift capitulation, expecting that their advanced war machines and centuries of military doctrine would overwhelm the newcomers. Instead, they encountered something they had never faced before, an enemy that fought not to survive, but to dominate. The Galactic Council, observing from afar, initially dismissed the humans as little more than primitives clinging to a feudal struggle. They expected humanity's early defeats to be decisive. But instead of retreating, the humans regrouped. They adapted. And then they struck back harder and more calculated than anyone anticipated. The Zedran began losing ground in ways that defied logic. Systems they had once controlled slipped from their grasp as the humans unleashed a combination of brute force and tactical ingenuity. Humanity, it seemed, was far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. They didn't need the grandeur of fleets, nor did they rely on superior technology to win battles. What they wielded instead was something far more terrifying: a deep-rooted knowledge of survival, a belief in their own resilience, and a refusal to bow to any authority. The Zedran fleets faltered not just because they were defeated, but because they were forced to confront an enemy they didn't understand. And that fear of the unknown, of a species that thrived in chaos spread throughout the galaxy. The reckoning wasn't just with the Zedran, it was with all who dared to challenge the humans. In the face of their tenacity and unrelenting thirst for survival, the galactic community began to question whether humanity would ever be content with coexistence. Instead, they realized that humans would not be bound by treaties or traditions. They would carve their place in the galaxy, not through submission, but through relentless, unforgiving conflict. And once a species crossed them, there was no turning back. Before the galactic community had fully grasped what was occurring, humanity unveiled a new weapon, one not forged in steel, but born of their darkest histories. Known among themselves as the Black Archives, it was not technology they unleashed, but something far more insidious: the strategic art of psychological warfare. Human broadcasts began infiltrating Zedran communication networks. Images of ancient battles, stories of unrelenting survival, and depictions of Earth's brutal wars were displayed on every Zedran screen. The carnage was incomprehensible: oceans turned red, skies darkened by fire, and endless records of calculated retribution for every perceived slight. The Zedran had always prided themselves on their order and discipline, their belief in harmony. Yet they were now forced to confront the reality that their enemies were capable of horrors far beyond anything they had imagined. The Zedran fleets faltered, not from technological inferiority, but from the overwhelming weight of human history. The broadcasts revealed a truth they had long tried to forget: that the humans came from a place of chaos, a world marked by unrelenting war and destruction. These weren't creatures shaped by unity or peace, but by endless conflict. They did not shy away from their past. In fact, they embraced it, celebrated it even as a foundation of their identity. The Zedron could not comprehend how a species so deeply scarred could still stand tall, unbroken by their own history. They had no lineage of conquest, no grandiose tales of victory in battle. To them, war was a tragedy, a deviation from their path toward harmony. But humans saw war as a crucible, one that forged them into something stronger. It was a mechanism of survival, not of destruction, but of evolution. The Zedran knew instinctively that they could not match the humans' ability to endure such conditions. In the face of this revelation, panic spread. The Zedran warriors began to doubt their very foundations, questioning whether their centuries of discipline had prepared them for the kind of enemy they now faced. The stories of human survival, painted in vivid and unrelenting detail, haunted their thoughts. They no longer fought against a species they could overpower, they fought against something far more terrifying, the embodiment of a past that refused to die. This wasn't a war of strategy anymore. It was a war of belief, of philosophy. The Zedran were forced to confront the fact that their once immovable doctrines had no power against an enemy who thrived on destruction and chaos. The Black Archives were not just a display of human brutality, they were a weapon of psychological dominance. The humans had not only waged war with ships and fleets, they had waged war with their very identities. And now, they had made the Zedran question everything they believed in. Even the Council's attempt to intervene was met with indifference by the humans. Their once high hopes of imposing sanctions, treaties, and peace talks were met with human silence. They ignored these attempts, leaving the Council to grapple with the implications. The humans did not seek peace, they sought only survival, and they had made it clear they would ensure their survival at any cost. No bargain, no alliance, no treaty would deter them. The galaxy was beginning to understand that to cross the humans was to invite a punishment that went beyond mere military defeat. It was a confrontation with the very fabric of their existence. Humanity's resolve became painfully clear during the Battle of Oran V, a once thriving colony under heavy Zedran occupation. The Zedran, seeking to make an example of defiance, had fortified the planet's surface and prepared for a prolonged siege. They expected to break the humans through starvation and bombardment, expecting them to surrender under the weight of overwhelming odds. But what they did not expect was humanity's unorthodox response. Human ships approached Oran V with eerie precision. There was no large fleet, no overwhelming display of force, but rather a calculated and methodical campaign. They deployed automated drones, small, silent machines designed for only one purpose: to reduce the planet to ash. The once lush colony, rich with resources and life, became a barren wasteland in a matter of hours. The skies darkened with thick, choking clouds of ash, and oceans boiled beneath a relentless barrage of fire. Entire cities, reduced to rubble, offered no refuge for the Zedran defenders. The planet was stripped of everything that had once given it life. No resources were left for the Zedran. No ground to stand on, no way to claim victory. This act shocked the galaxy. For the first time, it became evident that humans did not care for victory in the conventional sense. They weren't seeking to conquer and occupy, they sought only to erase what they could not control. The Zedran had expected an enemy who would come to claim and subjugate. Instead, they were met with a species that preferred to obliterate rather than assimilate. The human doctrine was one of annihilation, not dominance. To the Zedran, Oran V was not merely a battlefield, it became a symbol. It was a chilling reminder that humans would rather destroy what they could not save than allow their enemies to benefit from victory. The Zedran war planners, who had once anticipated a prolonged struggle, were forced to reconsider their strategy. They realized they could no longer rely on conventional tactics. If they could not outlast the humans, they could not defeat them. The battle at Oran V wasn't just a military loss, it was the collapse of the Zedran way of thinking. What followed was not immediate retaliation, but the slow unraveling of their once mighty empire. The Zedran were no longer fighting a single species. They were fighting the embodiment of a philosophy they could not comprehend, one rooted in the relentless pursuit of survival and the eradication of anything that challenged their existence. Humanity's actions became not just a statement, but a warning. The galaxy watched as Oran V faded into memory, yet the fear of what had happened there spread like wildfire. The humans had shown that they would not simply fade into the background of the galactic community. They had declared their intention to reshape the galaxy in their image, regardless of who stood in their way. The Zedran had believed they could break the human spirit, but instead they had broken their own. While the Council debated sanctions and peace negotiations, a darker truth emerged. Humanity's response to conflict had always seemed erratic and brutal, but beneath that surface was something far more calculated a plan. Intercepted messages revealed the existence of what humans called the Black Protocols, a set of doctrines developed not for peace, but for vengeance. These protocols were ancient texts, long since forgotten by most species in the galaxy, but to humanity they were sacred. The Black Protocols outlined a single, chilling philosophy: revenge is a dish best served cold. This was not a species bent solely on survival, but one driven by retribution. They didn't seek immediate gratification, they planned, waited, and struck with precision, ensuring that their enemies would suffer long after the battle had ended. The Zedran were learning this the hard way, but the implications were far more terrifying than anyone had initially believed. Humans didn't simply fight to protect what was theirs. They fought to erase anything that posed a threat to their existence. The Council, which had long relied on diplomacy and negotiation, struggled to grasp the magnitude of this revelation. Humans weren't merely reacting to grievances, they were acting on centuries-old grudges, passed down like ancestral curses. The broadcasts from Earth began to make sense now. The stories of endless wars, of civilizations reduced to ash, weren't relics of a distant past, they were strategies, tools humanity wielded with deliberate cruelty. The Zedran had dismissed these broadcasts as propaganda, but to the Council, they revealed a methodical intent. The Black Protocols weren't simply about revenge, they were a promise of eternal punishment. One by one, the Council races began to pull back from humanity. Their once optimistic belief that peace could be achieved began to crumble as they realized humanity would not be swayed by treaties or alliances. Any effort to impose sanctions or seek mutual understanding was met with contempt. The humans didn't recognize borders, treaties, or common law. They saw weakness in any attempt to contain them, and their philosophy of survival dictated that they would dismantle anyone who dared to challenge them. Humanity, it seemed, had been watching from the shadows, calculating their moves with cold precision. They had no interest in becoming one of the many species that occupied the galaxy. They sought only dominance, not through conquest, but through annihilation. The Black Protocols revealed a fundamental truth. For humanity, war wasn't an aberration, it was the foundation of their identity. The Council's most advanced analysts warned that humanity's tactics would not end with the Zedran. They were not driven by territorial ambitions or even the desire for resources. They were driven by an insatiable need to ensure that no species could ever rise to challenge their survival again. The Black Protocols had laid bare a chilling reality. Humans didn't simply want victory, they wanted the complete and utter destruction of anything that might threaten them. The fear among the Council species grew. Humanity wasn't simply another species in the galaxy, they had become a force of nature, an unstoppable tide that no law or treaty could contain. Their past wasn't merely a history of conflict, it was their guiding star. The galaxy had crossed a threshold, and it was too late to turn back. In the shadows of their growing fear, the once hopeful dream of peace had faded into the cold, unforgiving void. The galaxy now watched, uncertain, as humanity continued its relentless march, leaving destruction in its wake. The turning point came when humanity confronted the Althar, an ancient and revered species known for their wisdom and deep-rooted connection to the cosmos. The Althar had long served as mediators between warring factions, their very existence dedicated to preserving the harmony of the galaxy. They had once believed in their role as guides, offering counsel to those who veered from the path of peace. But now, their role was rendered meaningless in the face of the human threat. The Althar attempted to reason with the humans. They sent envoys hoping to understand their motives and find common ground. Yet, from the moment the first human fleet arrived in Althar space, there was no indication of peace. The humans approached the Althar with an air of detached indifference. They saw the once revered race not as guardians of harmony, but as obstacles to be removed. The humans didn't engage in negotiations, they erased them. Their fleets launched a surgical campaign, dismantling Althar colonies with precise, devastating strikes. Entire worlds were reduced to debris, and the once sacred temples of the Althar were turned into ash. It wasn't a battle for territory or resources, it was a campaign of extinction. The Althar fought with their usual resolve, but they soon realized that their enemy did not operate by the same rules. They could not appeal to the human sense of compassion or morality, because the humans had no such concepts. The Althar were witnesses to the truth of the Black Protocols. The humans didn't fight for a future, they fought to remove any possibility of opposition, leaving nothing in their wake but destruction. The Althar's fall sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy. If even they, the revered keepers of peace, could be obliterated without mercy, then no species was safe. The Council tried to intervene, sending fleets to support the Althar and demanding that humanity cease their attacks. But the humans did not respond to threats or appeals. They ignored the Council entirely, continuing their campaign of eradication as if they were indifferent to any authority but their own. The truth began to dawn. Humanity no longer viewed the galaxy as a place to coexist. They viewed it as a battlefield, and their enemies were not simply other species, they were the very fabric of existence. The Council races found themselves trapped between two choices: submit to the relentless advance of the humans or face annihilation. Humanity didn't just declare war on one species, they declared war on the galaxy itself. The Althar's destruction was not an isolated incident, it was part of a larger pattern, a relentless march of obliteration that showed no signs of slowing. The Black Protocols had become a reality, and the fear of their totality was now undeniable. As humanity continued to expand, leaving chaos in its wake, the Council realized there was no longer a path to peace. The galaxy had been changed forever. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as humanity's relentless advance continued unchecked. With every passing cycle, the once hopeful dream of unity seemed more like a distant memory, swallowed by the shadow of an unstoppable force. The humans weren't merely growing in power, they were reshaping the very structure of the galaxy itself. Entire civilizations fell one by one, not through great battles of honor, but through methods both cruel and efficient. As the Zedran and Althar crumbled, other species began to face the reality of their own demise. Some fought back with desperation, launching desperate counteroffensives that only expedited their own downfall. Others fled into the depths of uncharted space, hoping to escape the inevitable march of human forces. But even those who managed to evade destruction found that the humans didn't seek conquest in the traditional sense. There was no grand occupation, no subjugation to follow their victories. Instead, they left only ruins behind, worlds drained of resources, civilizations wiped clean of culture, and knowledge stolen or obliterated. The Council, now reduced to fractured factions, convened again and again, searching for answers. They spoke in whispers, the fear of openly defying humanity too great. Some proposed alliances, others advocated for desperate retaliatory strikes. But no one knew what could stop a species driven by the Black Protocols. The humans were not merely fighting for survival, they fought to erase any entity that could rise and challenge them. The most unsettling realization was that humanity didn't just destroy worlds, they destroyed hope itself. The galaxy wasn't a single entity to them, it was a collection of threats to be eliminated. Species that had once stood together in solidarity now turned on each other in their desperation. There was no more room for diplomacy, no more place for trust. In the absence of humanity's mercy, paranoia and fear festered, and the once mighty council dissolved into scattered remnants of what had once been a collective whole. What became clear was that humanity didn't seek alliances, they sought dominance. Their war wasn't just one of conquest, but one of complete obliteration. They didn't strive to expand their reach, they sought to minimize the risk of any future threats. The Council's most advanced minds struggled to comprehend the true extent of what they were up against. The humans operated on a level of strategy that defied logic. They didn't measure success by territory gained or resources collected. Their measure of success was the absence of threats. The galaxy became a silent witness to the collapse of entire civilizations as the humans moved deeper into the void, leaving behind nothing but destruction. The few remaining species were left to face their inevitable fate, the cold and merciless certainty of humanity's march ever present. But there was one question that lingered: could humanity's unyielding pursuit of survival be stopped, or had they already condemned the galaxy to a future of eternal darkness? In the final moments of the Council's last deliberations, whispers of despair echoed the chamber. The Zedran, once the guardians of order, had been broken. The Althar, keepers of peace, had been erased. The remaining species of the galaxy stood at the precipice of extinction, their fates hanging by a thread. Yet, even in their darkest hour, there was still a faint glimmer of defiance, one that emerged from the echoes of a long-forgotten human history. Humanity's ancient past, filled with tales of ruin and survival, had once seemed like a relic of a bygone era. But now, that history was their strength. The galaxy had viewed it as a weakness, a reminder of endless conflict and destruction. Yet to the humans, it was a source of unrelenting resilience. They had endured wars so catastrophic that entire civilizations had fallen. And from that destruction, they had risen stronger, more determined. Now, the survivors of the Council knew they could not rely on the old ways of unity or diplomacy. They had tried peace, and peace had led them to ruin. Humanity had proven that their survival was not just a simple desire, it was an unyielding imperative woven into the very fabric of who they were. To defeat humanity, to halt their advance, required a shift in thinking as profound as their own existence had become. Some argued for a final, desperate alliance, a gathering of all remaining species, even the most fractured, to confront humanity in one last stand. But others saw no value in such a path. The Black Protocols had already sown the seeds of distrust. The humans had made it clear there was no room for cooperation. The only answer, they whispered, might lie in something far darker, something humanity had long since embraced. And so, in the quiet shadows of the council chambers, an idea emerged. If humanity thrived on destruction, if their past made them stronger, then perhaps the key to defeating them lay in the very essence of their philosophy. To become like them, not to fight as they did, not with brute force, but with the same unrelenting purpose. The remaining species began to question their own histories, digging into their own pasts, seeking the darkest corners of their own beliefs. Could they embrace the chaos and destruction that had once been shunned? Could they become as relentless, as merciless as the humans? In the face of annihilation, the galaxy had become divided once again, this time not by borders or treaties, but by an existential choice. They could resist, cling to the remnants of their identities, or they could reshape themselves, adopting the very methods that had proven effective. But even as they wrestled with this decision, humanity continued their relentless march. They had already erased entire civilizations, leaving behind nothing but lifeless voids. The survivors knew they could not afford hesitation. If they didn't act, if they didn't change, humanity's relentless march would continue, erasing everything that stood in their way. The galaxy had entered a dark and uncertain future. Whether it would emerge from this darkness remained unclear. One thing, however, was certain: the humans had left behind a new reality, one in which only the relentless would survive. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Sci-Fi Horizons stories for more thrilling tales of science fiction and adventure. The future of the galaxy hangs in the balance, and humanity's relentless march continues. What happens next is up to you.